Ying Xuan traveled to the Great Qin and became the ancestor of the First Emperor Ying Zheng, bound to the strongest dungeon system. As long as you pass the dungeon, you can receive rewards and integrate it into the main world, upgrading the main world. Three Kingdoms Dungeon, Divine Sculpture Dungeon, Wind and Cloud Dungeon, Zhu Xian Dungeon, Dopa Dungeon, Zhetian Dungeon. Ying Xuan is the first instance the Three Kingdoms. Fight 1 world per person. You want to exhaust me to death. Ying Xuan decisively threw the dungeon to Ying Zheng. From then on, Ying Zheng led the Great Qin Iron Cavalry to battle one instance after another. Ying Xuan received a clearance reward, integrated the instances, and lived a peaceful life. Unconsciously, the Qin has become the highest immortal Qin, and Ying Xuan has become keywords of the novel. Grand Qin Ancestor. At the beginning, let the First Emperor conquer the Three Kingdoms without a pop-up window. Grand Qin Ancestor. At the beginning, let the First Emperor conquer the Three Kingdoms. Download the complete TXT collection. Grand Qin Ancestor. At the beginning, let the First Emperor conquer the Three Kingdoms. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Ying Zheng visits his ancestor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Ying Zheng visits his ancestor Qin. Early morning. All was quiet, and the eastern horizon shimmered with a hint of light, carefully infiltrating the light blue sky. The dawn slowly began. Teams of iron-clad warriors, armed with determination and a sense of solemnity, lined up on both sides of the official road outside Xianying City, stretching for nearly 10 miles. Liu Buwei, the prime minister of the Great Qin dynasty, and the civil and military officials did not go to the early court, but came to a place 10 miles outside Xianying City to wait. It seems that the morning court will be held here. The people who woke up early were so frightened by such a battle that they dared not breathe. They hid far away with a strong curiosity on their faces. What's going on? Is it a big shot from the 6 countries who came to Xianying today? Didn't you see that the Prime Minister and all the civil and military officials have come? Which of the 6 major figures from the 6 kingdoms deserve such a battle? The civil and military officials who come out of the city to welcome each other for 10 miles must be an unimaginable figure. I heard that a respected ancestor of the Ying family will return today, and our king will personally welcome him later. Is it really fake? Shouldn't we be able to see the king later? Of course. I don't know which ancestor of the Ying family it is. My uncle's aunt's nephew said it seems to be the ancestor of Ying Xuan. Xuanzu. Will Xuanzu really return today? Xuanzu should be 100 years old, right? Today is Xuanzu's 100th birthday. 100 years old. Unlike ordinary people, all civil and military officials know that the big shot they are going to welcome today is Emperor Xuanzu Ying Xuan. But whether Ying Xuan can return today? Everyone has no confidence in their hearts. Most people don't think that Ying Xuan will appear today. In this era, there are very few people who can live over 100 years old. Since Qin Shaogong won the Battle of Cuiliang, every monarch of the Great Qin, there are not many who have lived over 50 years old. Lord Xianghua, do you know the news about Xuanzu? Li Si leaned over to Liu Buwei and asked in a low voice. As the Prime Minister of the Great Qin dynasty, Liu Buwei wielded immense power and was in charge of a network of assassins known as the All-Encompassing and Invincible that spread throughout the 7 countries. The most likely person to know about Ying Xuan's news in the entire Qin dynasty, apart from Ying Zheng, was Liu Buwei. Even Liu Buwei may have more information than Ying Zheng. The king has asked us to respectfully welcome the return of Emperor Xuanzu here. As officials, we can wait and see. Why ask so many questions? Liu Buwei's voice was calm and self-righteous. After speaking, he ignored Li Si and wandered around the world, unsure of what he was thinking. Your Excellency Xianghua has taught you a lesson. Li Si respectfully stepped down, but in his heart he was pondering Ying Xuan. Ying Xuan, the youngest son of Duke Xiaogong of Qin, and the younger brother of King Huiwen of Qin. It is said that he was born with exceptional talent and intelligence. His invention of papermaking and movable type printing technology brought unprecedented prosperity to various schools of thought, especially Confucian culture, and benefited the world. His invention of the curved plow and rice cultivation technology greatly increased grain production and fed countless people. The series of technologies he casually invented made the Qin state unprecedentedly powerful, firmly occupying the top position among the 7 states. King Hui of Qin originally intended to pass the throne to him, but Ying Xuan did not hesitate to refuse, and then left Xianyang. It is said that Qiu Xian asked, "Li Si doesn't know if there are any immortals in this world." However, he knew that Ying Xuanwu had extremely high talent. At the age of 12, he became a master, at 18, he was promoted to a great master, and at 20, he left Xianyang without any news. It is precisely because of Ying Xuanwu's exceptional talent that there is only a glimmer of possibility for him to return on his 100th birthday. Otherwise, it is difficult for ordinary people to live to the age of 100. The king has arrived. At this moment, with Zhao Gao's sharp and cold voice, the car of King Ying Zheng of Qin slowly drove towards him, surrounded by a group of armored soldiers. Farewell to the king. LV Bouet led various civil and military officials to bow and greet him. Flat. A cold and majestic voice sounded. Thank you, king. Civil and military officials stood up. Ying Zheng got off the car and drove away, standing in front of the crowd. He was dressed in a black gilded dragon robe, holding a sword hanging from his waist with one hand. His body was straight, and a pair of deep eyes appeared under his 12 miandiao, gazing into the distance, majestic and mysterious. Wherever his gaze passed, whether it was a civil servant or a military general, they all lowered their heads, and no one dared to look at them. The hidden dragon emerges from the abyss. Soar for 9 days. Even LV Bouet felt immense pressure. If Xuanzu really returns today, I'm afraid I'll have to retreat into the mountains and forests. LV Bouet secretly prayed in his heart. Ying Xuan has lost the news for 80 years, and even though he controls the trap, he has not heard any information about it. In his opinion, Ying Xuan may have died long ago. Time passes by bit by bit. The heart that LV Bouet raised gradually eased. Ying Xuan is afraid that he won't be able to come. He looked ahead at Ying Zheng. Ying Zheng's figure remained straight, like a sharp sword piercing into the clouds. Not moving at all. I can't tell the depth. Zhuxuan records that Xuanzu will return to Xianyang on his centenary birthday. Today is the day of 1 centenary. Ying Zheng secretly prayed in his heart, Emperor Xuanzu has extraordinary talent, excellent academic and martial arts skills, and remarkable achievements. He is an extraordinary person. He said that if he returns today, he will definitely return. For this mysterious ancestor Ying Xuan who has never met before. Ying Zheng's heart is filled with admiration and admiration. Even though Ying Xuan only stayed in the state of Qin for 20 years, his impact on the state of Qin and even the entire world was unparalleled. With the help of Ying Xuan, King Huiwen of Qin launched a northern expedition against Yixiu, pacified Bashu in the west, expanded to Hanggu in the east, and migrated to Shangyu in the south, making Qin the leader of the 7 kingdoms. If it weren't for Ying Xuan giving up the throne and leaving the state of Qin early, the state of Qin will inevitably unify the 6 states in the hands of Ying Xuan. But the world will surely be unified in my hands. In Ying Zheng's eyes, he was full of fighting spirit and confidence. However, he hoped that Ying Xuan could return and watch him unify the 6 countries. Afternoon. The civil and military officials became restless in their hearts, with the scorching sun above their heads and hunger in their stomachs, making them even more restless. They slandered in their hearts. Xuanzu is afraid he won't come. Xuanzu has been missing news for 80 years, maybe it's already gone. How many people in this world can live to be 100 years old? Ah, I don't know when we'll have to wait. Just as the patience of civil and military officials was worn out and their hearts were restless. On the official road several miles away from them, a handsome figure with crane hair and a childlike appearance slowly walked over. He seems to walk very slowly. But with just a few meters, as if shrinking to an inch, they quickly arrived several tens of meters in front of Ying Zheng and others. Boom! On Ying Zheng's left, a young man with a cold and expressionless face, dressed in a white robe, suddenly lifted his head, his eyes seeming to be filled with sword intent. He was like an unsheathed sword, piercing into the sky with an unstoppable sharpness. How impressive! This person's strength is not below that of his master. The young man tightened his grip on the hilt of the sword, staring at the newcomer with a serious gaze. He is the close guard of Ying Zheng. Descendants of Gigu, Gainye. On Ying Zheng's right, a gloomy-looking man with short red hair and a cold gaze, wearing a eunuch's high hat, also looked over with a cold gaze. What a fast speed! What a terrifying cultivation! Zhao Gao was shocked in his heart. His martial arts were not weak, but when he looked at the newcomer, he felt like a vast ocean was sweeping in, vast and mighty, making him unable to resist at all. This is the grand trend of heaven and earth. No manpower can stop it. Is this the Xuanzu? I'm afraid the Geguzi of the Gigu sect, the Beimingzi of the Taoist school, and the Donghuang Tai of the Yin Yang school are just like that. Not only Gai Nian and Zhao Gao, but also Ying Zheng, Lv Bui, Wang Jian, Wang Ben and others rushed to look at the visitors. Xuanzu. The same name suddenly appeared in their minds. They have all seen the portrait of Ying Xuan when he left at the age of 20. Although 80 years have passed. But apart from his white hair, Ying Xuan's face hardly showed any change. And this cultivation. In today's world, only those old monsters can reach it. But they cannot come and impersonate Ying Xuan. So. This person must be the ancestor of Xuan, undoubtedly Ying Xuan. Ying Zheng immediately stepped forward and excitedly bowed, saying. Ying Zheng leads the civil and military officials of the Great Qin dynasty to pay homage to Emperor Xuanzu. Congratulations to the return of Emperor Xuanzu. As Ying Zheng's voice fell, the civil and military ministers such as Lv Bui and Wang Jian knelt down on the ground and shouted. Congratulations to the return of Emperor Xuanzu. Countless soldiers and civilians around knelt and shouted. Congratulations to the return of Emperor Xuanzu. The sound shook the 9 skies. Endurance. Ying Xuan looked at Ying Zheng and others, with mixed feelings in his heart. It's been 100 years. He has been in Daqin for a whole 100 years. It has been exactly 80 years since I left Xianying last time. The sea changes and the fields change. Things are different from people. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the beginner task and activating the strongest dungeon system. At this moment, the mechanical sound of the system rang out in my mind. Ying Xuan was taken aback and cursed loudly in his heart. Grass. Dog system. I have become a land god now, and you have finally been activated. If you don't give it to me, I will unload you. Ying Xuan's journey through time is different from others. It's not about taking away others, but about directly traveling through his mother's womb and being bound to the strongest dungeon system as soon as he arrives. But the system activation will take 100 years, and you also need to complete the beginner task. What kind of world cultivates the heart? What is reclusive in the mountains and forests? It is also called a test. Ying Xuan can only complete tasks while practicing martial arts hard, striving to live to 100 years old and activate the system. Fortunately, the emperor does not disappoint those who work hard. Ying Xuan has extraordinary talent and has been a person of 2 generations with a strong soul. He not only completed tasks but also cultivated into a land immortal. Finally, on today's centenary, the system has been activated. Ding, the strongest instance system is enabled. The host can bind a world as the main world, and after binding, the host becomes the world's master. After completing the dungeon, you can receive a clearance reward, control the dungeon, integrate the dungeon into the main world, and upgrade to the main world. Currently available World Qin. Cannot be changed after binding. Is it bound to the main world of the Great Qin dynasty? Bind. Ying Xuan spoke silently in his heart. Except for the Great Qin. He also has no other choice. Besides, as the ancestor of the Great Qin. Not bound to the world of Daqin, what is bound? Ding, successfully bound. Congratulations to the host for becoming the master of the Great Qin world. A mechanical sound fell. A mysterious feeling rushed into Ying Xuan's heart. Ying Xuan's figure slowly floated up, 3 feet above the ground, and getting higher and higher. Ying Zheng, Gai Nie, Zhao Gao, Lv Bue, Wang Jian, and others all looked up in shock. I saw Ying Xuan's silver hair turning into green silk on his head, his robe moving freely in the absence of wind, hunting making a sound, and the flowing light overflowing with colors, shining brightly in the sky. The sky is in chaos, and the ground is filled with golden lotus flowers. Heaven and earth seem to resonate with each other at this moment. A sense of indescribable authority permeated from Ying Xuan's body. His figure seemed to become infinitely large. Endless Weian. Great Qin, South Korea, Wei, Zhao, Chu, Qi, Yan, and even all the people in the world. Living beings, we all saw the figure of Ying Xuan Weian. He seemed to be everywhere, ubiquitous, standing above everyone, exuding unparalleled dignity in momentum. Under such majesty and momentum, the creatures of the Great Qin, the 6 kingdoms, and even the entire world suddenly knelt down in unison. They looked at the majestic figure with fanatical and confused eyes. That kind of authority. It's like a courtier in the secular world seeing an emperor. That majestic aura. Beyond heaven and earth. Like the Lord of heaven and earth. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Longevity with Heaven, Eternal Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Longevity with Heaven, Eternal Life South Korea. Xinjiang. Han Wang'an lay on the ground, his eyes wide open, staring in terror at the towering figure in the sky, resembling a heavenly god. His breath froze and his heart beat faster. My goodness, is this the heavenly god descending to earth? There are really gods in this world. The villain pays homage to the gods, and they bless them. Han Wang'an's face flushed with excitement and he kowtowed wildly. Does having a deity mean being immortal? Does it mean he may also be immortal? Are there really gods in this world? This is a woman who is seductive to the extreme, beautiful to the extreme. She seems to be emitting a lure all the time, tempting men and teasing your nerves. She has a noble and elegant temperament, yet carries a fairy-like charm, like a blue fairy, tempting yet dangerous. She is the wife of Han Wang'an. Lady Mingzhu. She has a hidden identity. She is the blue sea-tide demon, one of the 4 evil generals of the night. Her narrow and seductive eyes flickered slightly, staring closely at the immensely majestic, sacred, and majestic figure in the sky. This figure seems to stand in the distant sky, as if it is close at hand. Even higher than the sky. Deeper than the sea. Even though Lady Mingzhu has a strong and resolute heart, she is still inexplicably shocked. That kind of oppression that feels like substance. It's like the lower facing the higher. The majesty and aura that seemed to come from the level of life told her clearly that this was definitely not an illusion. It's definitely not someone who tries to be mysterious. She is proficient in illusions, witchcraft, poisons, and other abilities. She dotes on the imperial harem, but Han Wang'an couldn't even touch her finger. Her abilities are beyond imagination. This is definitely an unimaginable terrifying existence, even if it's not a deity, it's on par with a deity. Madame Mingzhu stared at the majestic figure in the sky, filled with longing in her heart. A thirst for power. There really is such a powerful existence in this world, like a deity. I don't know if there will be a chance to see each other in the future, if possible. Madame Mingzhu looked at the majestic figure in the sky with beautiful eyes, filled with anticipation in her heart. How could it be possible? General's mansion, with a face full of flesh, General Ji Wuye knelt on the ground, staring blankly at the sky with an incredulous expression on her face. I'm not feeling dizzy, am I? This terrifying pressure, this suffocating majesty, this unparalleled aura. It must be a fairy. Only immortals can be so powerful. There are really gods in this world. At this moment it is not only King An of Han, Lady Mingzhu, and General Ji Wuye, but also King Wei, King Zhao, King Chu, King Shi of Yan, King Jian of Qi, Yin Yang, Confucianism, Mo, Taoism. All the people from the 6 kingdoms and the 100 schools of thought were inexplicably shocked, only feeling their heads buzzing and bewildered, with a dull expression on their faces. Although there are martial arts, Gu techniques, Yin-Yang techniques, and Taoist techniques in this world, it seems magical, but in fact, they still do not fall outside the realm of martial arts. Although it is said that there are goddesses like the 9 heavenly empress. But in the eyes of many people, immortals are completely ethereal and non-existent. However, today, they saw the immortals. A true immortal. If such great power is not considered a deity, then what is a deity? There are really immortals in this world. Da Qin. Ziyan Yang. Qin Wang Ying Zheng, Gai Nye, Zhao Gao, the French protector moon god, and various civil and military officials stared blankly at Ying Xuan in the sky, exuding infinite pressure and momentum, with his head blank. Xuanzu, have you become immortal? Are there really immortals in this world? Under the thin eye veil of the French teacher moon god, a pair of deep and beautiful blue eyes are full of shock and excitement, and my heart is filled with turmoil. The names of the high-level members of the Yin-Yang family are actually named after the gods. For example, her moon god. Her real name is naturally not moon god is the title she obtained as the right protector of the Yin-Yang family. The rest, such as the leaders Dong Huangtai, Dong Jun, Da Shiming, Shao Siming, etc., are all like this. Has Xuanzu really become an immortal? Gai Nye stared tightly at the sky, his eyes complex. As a descendant of Gigu, he believed more in the sword in his hand and did not believe in immortals in the world. But at this moment, Ying Xuan is completely beyond the imagination and limits of ordinary people. This is definitely not something that martial arts can achieve. Even his master Guguzi, in front of Ying Xuan at this moment, may still be as insignificant as a mortal. Xuanzu has become an immortal, and heaven blesses the Great Qin. Ying Zheng regained his senses, feeling excited and indescribable. And Ying Xuan was also a little excited at the moment. The dog system is not bad. It's not in vain that I've been waiting for 100 years. I've been refining my heart in the mortal world and living in seclusion in the mountains and forests. Ying Xuan clenched his fist, feeling a bit excited. He naturally did not become an immortal. However, after he was bound to the main world of the Qin dynasty, he became the master of the world, and the whole world seemed to have become a part of his body. In a moment of contemplation, one can see any corner of the Great Qin, like observing patterns in one's palm. In a moment of thought, the sea can transform into mulberry fields. Moving mountains and filling the sea is omnipotent. If the Great Qin is not destroyed, he will not die. It can be said that to live together with the heavens and never grow old. At the same time, as long as he is in the world of Great Qin, he can mobilize the power of the world and possess power like a fairy god. Is it an invincible start? But my goal is not Da Qin, but the vast sea of stars. Ying Xuan clenched his fist slightly, suppressing the excitement in his heart. It's not yet time for him to expand. Being invincible in the world of Qin is not a big deal. Looking at all the heavens and all the realms. Still small as ants. Ding, the binding of the main world is complete, and the replica is refreshed. As the mechanical sound sounded, a virtual panel appeared in front of Ying Xuan, with stars passing by one, creating dungeons. Yunlan Sect Dungeon, Warcraft Mountain Dungeon, Demon Emperor Tomb Dungeon, Chaos Hen Academy Dungeon, Dolua Dungeon, Bibidong Dungeon. Ying Xuan discovered that anything can become a dungeon. A plant of grass, a person, a dog, a stone. However, common dungeons are still a mountain range, a city, and even a world. Ding. Congratulations to the host for refreshing to the Three Kingdoms dungeon. Dungeon Task 1. Conquer or kill LV Bu. Dungeon Task 2. Conquer or kill Dongjua. Dungeon Task 3. Control 70% of the territory of the Three Kingdoms. Completing tasks can earn rewards and refresh the next instance. If you fail to complete the task, there will be no reward or punishment. You can refresh the next instance in 2 months. Not bad. Ying Xuan nodded slightly. He hated systems with punishment the most. As for not completing the task, it needs to be refreshed every 2 months, which is not a problem at all. Large replicas like the Three Kingdoms dungeon require a considerable amount of time. Especially controlling 70% of the territory of the Three Kingdoms, relying on one person to enter and fight dungeons, even if familiar with the plot, is too difficult. Even if the Three Kingdoms dungeon does not have a western region, it takes a lot of time to control 70% of the territory. But he has a large number of laborers under his command. You don't need to do it yourself. Lie flat directly. Just wait for the rewards and benefits. Think of it here. Ying Xuan cast his gaze downwards. Ying Zheng. The Qin vs. Three Kingdoms. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Ying Zheng. The Death of Emperor Qin 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Ying Zheng. The Death of Emperor Qin 2. Congratulations to Emperor Xuanzu for ascending to the throne of immortality, with vast divine powers and longevity aligned with the heavens. It seemed to sense Ying Xuan's gaze, and Ying Zheng was very excited. His trembling voice was full of excitement, as if he had exhausted all his strength to shout out. As Ying Zheng's voice sounded, everyone including Zhao Gao, LV Bue, Wang Jian, and Gai Nia excitedly shouted. Congratulations to Emperor Xuanzu for ascending to the throne of immortality, with vast divine powers and longevity aligned with the heavens. They blushed and had thick necks, their hearts racing. Immortals. They were fortunate enough to meet a deity in their lifetime, and still so close. How can one not be excited or overjoyed? Congratulations to Emperor Xuanzu for ascending to the throne of immortality, with vast divine powers and longevity aligned with the heavens. Tens of thousands of armored elite soldiers around shouted loudly, their voices echoing through the entire city of Xianyang. At this moment, all the high-ranking officials and people in Xianyang city suddenly realized that this immortal was called Xuanzu. So, everyone cheered with excitement. Congratulations to Emperor Xuanzu for ascending to the throne of immortality, with vast divine powers and longevity aligned with the heavens. The mighty voice pierced through the clouds and shook the earth. Let's all get up. Ying Xuan's aura was majestic and restrained, like a handsome young man. He approached Ying Zheng and others, his calm and deep eyes staring at them. This world is not the Great Qin in history, but the Great Qin in the Qin dynasty's bright moon or the 9 songs of the sky. Ying Xuan also saw Ying Zheng for the first time. When he left Xianyang, Ying Zheng's grandfather had not even been born yet. Although I don't know what Ying Zheng looked like in history, he is quite handsome at the moment. But compared to him, there is still a significant difference. Thank you, Xuanzu. Ying Zheng stood up and felt Ying Xuan's gaze. He was both excited and uneasy in his heart, and quickly said, Xuanzu's boat and carriage are tired. Zheng has ordered people to prepare a banquet and bring you the wind and wash away the dust, Xuanzu. Not bad. Ying Xuan nodded slightly. I don't know if it means Ying Zheng is good, or if he is well prepared. But a good sentence has already excited Ying Zheng. He suppressed his excitement and personally led the way ahead, leading Ying Xuan to his car and respectfully saying, Xuanzu, please. You can join in too. Ying Xuan didn't hesitate to get in Ying Zheng's car and asked him to come up as well. Thank you, Xuanzu. Ying Zheng was a bit excited to be able to ride with Ying Xuan, which was his supreme glory. LV Buwei, Wang Jian, and others were filled with envy in their eyes. They don't envy Ying Xuan for being able to ride in Ying Zheng's car, but envy Ying Zheng for being able to ride with Ying Xuan. Qin has risen. The civil and military officials followed the car back to the palace, but their faces couldn't contain their excitement. At the same time, the news here is also like a Category 12 hurricane, sweeping towards 6 countries and 100 families with Xianyang as the center. In the palace, cheers and chips intertwined. Ying Xuan sat in the main seat. Ying Zheng and the elders of the Ying family sat on both sides. LV Buwei, Wang Jian and other civil and military officials sat on both sides below. After 3 rounds of drinking, Ying Zheng came to Ying Xuan and offered a glass of wine before respectfully saying, Xuanzu, now the Great Qin is facing internal and external troubles. There are wolf tribes eyeing us from outside, and there are 6 countries eager to stir up within. The government is young and the moral character is weak. Therefore, we request Xuanzu to take over the throne and showcase the power of our Great Qin. Boom. Ying Zheng's voice sounded like a bolt from the blue, exploding in everyone's minds. If it were normal, or if it were someone else, they would inevitably stand up and oppose it. But at this moment, even LV Buwei held his breath and dared not make any sound. This Xuanzu is not of high seniority, he is just old. But rather a divine being with great powers, like a fairy god. It is normal for Ying Zheng to abdicate the throne to Ying Xuan. They dare not object even more. No need. Ying Xuan patted Ying Zheng's shoulder and said with a smile, You, the king of Qin, have done a good job. Even without me, I believe you can resist the wolf tribe and unify the 6 countries. As for now, the wolf tribe is nothing but ants' ears, they can be wiped out by flipping their palms. 6 countries are nothing. You preach to the 6 kingdoms and the wolf clan that within 1 month, they will either surrender or perish. Ying Zheng's pupils contracted, his heart thumped and beat, excitedly saying, Yes, Xuanzu. Not only him, but also the civil and military officials of the entire court had no doubt about Ying Xuan's words. The power of immortality is beyond the defense of mortals. Ying Xuan glanced at Ying Zheng and glanced at Gainye, Moon God, LV Buwei, Wang Jian, and others before slowly saying, The world is big, far from what you see. Beyond the world of Great Qin, there is an infinite world, which can be big and small, just as numerous as the world that is billions of times larger than Great Qin. You need to have a long-term perspective. As long as you put your heart into doing things, becoming immortal and divine in the future is not a problem. Everyone's hearts trembled. Becoming a fairy or a god. Can they also become immortals and gods? LV Buwei, Wang Jian and others widened their eyes in disbelief. Who doesn't want to become a fairy or a god? If this was said by someone else, even if it were Xuanzi from Confucianism, Beimingzi from Taoism, or Gu Gizi from the Giga sect, they would definitely criticize each other. But this was said by Ying Xuan. Although unbelievable. But it may not be impossible either. After all, Ying Xuan has become a fairy and a god. At least in their eyes. Buzz. Just as they were digesting the news just revealed by Ying Xuan in shock, excitement, and disbelief, a huge portal emitting endless divine radiance floated in mid-air with a wave of Ying Xuan's big hand. Through the portal, they faintly saw a huge world. That world has cities, people like them, and many armies fighting. Behind this portal is a secret realm, and you can also treat it as a world or paradise similar to the Great Qin dynasty. Ying Xuan pointed to the holy portal, and behind it was the Three Kingdoms dungeon. He didn't use the word copy. Ying Zheng and his team find it difficult to understand the meaning of the dungeon. It is more appropriate to use a secret realm or a blessed cave. Oh my goodness, behind this portal lies a world. There is such a world where the rise of the Great Qin is just around the corner. Xuanzu is really amazing, he opened such a blessed cave. Everyone present is well aware of the benefits that a world brings. That's simply unimaginable. Everyone became excited. They looked straight at Ying Xuan, eager to rush in and feel the charm of another world. Feeling their scorching gaze, Ying Xuan smiled in his heart. These are all his workers. Having enthusiasm is a good thing. Only in this way can there be motivation. He loves working people like this the most. I will name this secret realm Three Kingdoms. Ying Xuan looked at them and slowly said, actually, this Three Kingdoms secret realm has some connection with our Great Qin world. You can treat it as the Great Qin world in over 400 years. What? The world of the Qin in over 400 years. Ying Zheng was stunned. Lv Bue widened his eyes. Wang Jian's breath froze. Could Xuanzu have intercepted the Great Qin over 400 years later with supreme supernatural powers and created such a Three Kingdoms secret realm? Under the veil of the moon god's eyes, deep blue ripples rose in layers, and countless thoughts flashed through his mind. The more he thought, the more terrifying it felt. Not only her, but also Ying Zheng, Gai Nye and others have this kind of idea. Xuanzu, is this Three Kingdoms possibly due to the decline and division of our Great Qin dynasty over 400 years later into the Three Kingdoms? After being shocked, Ying Zheng couldn't help but ask. For the future of Qin. He cares the most. What he wants is the Qin dynasty for thousands of years. The Zhou dynasty lasted for 800 years. Is the Great Qin not as good as the Zhou dynasty, which declined and split in just over 400 years? Ying Xuan shook his head. Ying Zheng's heart pounded with disbelief as he said, did the Great Qin dynasty fail to unify for over 400 years, and in the end, there are still 3 countries left? No. Without further ado, Ying Xuan said directly. The Great Qin has been unified in your hands. You acknowledge yourself as the 3 emperors and surpass the 5 emperors in virtue. You call yourself the emperor and call yourself the First Emperor. Has the Great Qin been unified in my hands? The First Emperor. Ying Zheng was taken aback and was knocked unconscious by the sudden pie. The other civil and military officials were equally shocked and inexplicable. Sure enough, fate is in Qin, and the Great Qin unified the world. The moon god secretly said in his heart. She is proficient in astrology and divination, and has the ability to predict. Previously, she predicted that the Great Qin could unify the world, so the Yin-Yang family chose the state of Qin. She also came to the state of Qin and became a protector of France. After getting excited, Ying Zheng quickly said. Now that Emperor Xuanzu has achieved immortality, that is the true achievement of the 3 emperors, surpassing the 5 emperors in virtue. Only Emperor Xuanzu deserves the name of the First Emperor. Ying Xuan waved his hand and said, the 3 kingdoms were not divided by the end of Qin, but by the end of Han. There is news about the 3 kingdoms all over here. As he spoke, Ying Xuan's palm lit up and condensed into a thick book. 3 kingdoms. This was formed by Ying Xuan using the power of the Qin world and condensing it based on the memories in his mind. After you understand, prepare as quickly as possible to capture the 3 kingdoms. I will give you a few tasks, which will affect whether you can become immortals and gods in the future. Ying Xuan threw the book in his hand to Ying Zheng and instructed him. Yes, Xuanzu, I will definitely capture the three kingdoms at the fastest speed and complete the task assigned by Xuanzu. Ying Zheng immediately promised. Becoming a fairy and a god. Not only him, but also Gai Nye, moon god, and civil and military officials were very excited. At this moment, I don't care about the six kingdoms or the wolf clan anymore. They just want to conquer the new world. The three kingdoms. Xuanzu, is this Han who replaced my Great Qin? I don't know how long my Great Qin has existed. Ying Zheng couldn't help but ask in the end. Don't ask this question. He felt uncomfortable in his heart. In the secret realm of the three kingdoms, the Great Qin too died, and the rest will naturally be known when you arrive in the three kingdoms. Ying Xuan waved his hand and said calmly. He relies heavily on explanation. But Ying Zheng's body trembled, his head hummed, and only one sentence remained, as if with magic, echoing constantly in his mind. Emperor Qin too died. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Immortals in the State of Qin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Immortals in the State of Qin. One day later. The return of Emperor Ying Xuan and the achievement of immortality have been passed down through various channels to the nobles of the six countries and various schools of thought. South Korea. Xinjiang. Imperial Palace. What? The immortal who appeared yesterday was Ying Xuan, the ancestor of the Qin state. How could this be possible? Han Wangen had a big belly, and his body, which had been hollowed out by the trendy which Lady Mingzhu, was shaking and trembling. His face was pale and unbelievable. Someone, drag out this spy who spread false information and chop him off. Han Wangen shouted angrily. He does not believe, or rather does not want to believe, the terrifying fact that the ancestor of Qin, Ying Xuan, was a deity. Great King, spare your life, Great King, spare your life. Every word spoken by the villain is true. This is the news from the state of Qin. King, spare your life. In the midst of mournful screams, the messenger had his head chopped off. Is it possible that Ying Xuan is a fairy? Why don't we say that Ying Xueliang, Ying Si, and Ying Zheng are immortals? It's really ridiculous, don't you think so? Han Wangen tightly grasped the armrest of the throne in his palm and said to the civil and military ministers below, such as General Ji Wuye, blood-clothed Marquis Bai Fei, and Prime Minister Kai Kaidi. But his trembling voice had already betrayed his heart. No one in the civil and military circles of the Manchu dynasty agreed. This kind of thing can never be false. Fake can't be true. It's easy to expose. Yesterday they all saw the figure with divine power like a prison and majestic shore like a heavenly god. What's going on? Are you all mute? Speak up. Watching no one speak, Han Wang felt increasingly uneasy and roared angrily. Report to the king. Xianghua took a step forward on the ground and arched his hand, saying. Yesterday, Weichen felt a little familiar with the immortal-like figure. Today, after learning that it was Ying Xuan, he quickly checked the portrait of Ying Xuan. That figure is indeed no different from the portrait of Ying Xuan. Although Ying Xuan was only in the state of Qin for 20 years, he left Xianyang without any news. But the name of Ying Xuan is well known throughout the world. His invention of papermaking made every nobleman who used paper remember his name. The Tsuyuan plow he invented made every full farmer remember his name. Han Wangen rolled his eyelids and fainted. South Korea was already weak. Facing the Great Qin, walking on thin ice. Now that there is another immortal-like ancestor of Ying Xuan in the Great Qin, how can he still live in Korea? King! Screams of surprise echoed one after another, causing chaos in the court. Ji Wuye, Bai Fei, and others had sparkling eyes and lively thoughts. It seems that I need to find a way out for myself as soon as possible. This broken South Korean ship won't last long. The harem. Yuxiang Pavilion. As one of the 4 evil generals of the night, Lady Mingzhu, the Kainu demon who is not a cousin of the blood-clothed Marquis Bai, also received the news early on. The terrifying figure that appeared yesterday was actually the mysterious ancestor Ying Xuan from the state of Qin. The narrow and seductive eyes of Lady Mingzhu, the Kainu demon, flashed with shock. She naturally heard of Ying Xuan, who had done many earth-shattering things but left Xianyang and disappeared at the age of 20. Unexpectedly, Ying Xuan, who was already 100 years old, not only did not die, but also became so terrifying that he seemed to have become a fairy and a god. The rise of the Qin state is unstoppable, and the useless Han Wangen is of no use. The Nightfall organization controls South Korea from the political side through her. She hypnotizes Han Wangen through hallucinations every night, in order to control Han Wangen's spirit and thus control Korean politics. Now South Korea is on the brink of collapse. Han Wangen is naturally of no use. She also needs to prepare early. She wants to go to Daqin. I want to meet the legendary and mysterious ancestor Ying Xuan. Purple Orchid Pavilion. Han Fei, who had just returned to Xinjiang, South Korea, looked at the news in his hand with a hint of shock and doubt in his eyes. Is there really a fairy in this world? Even if there are immortals, can people become immortals? Brother Wei Zhuang, do you think this Ying Xuan has really become a fairy? His martial arts cultivation is to the extreme, can he achieve the same step as yesterday? He looked at the young man next to him holding a uniquely shaped sword with white hair. The young man is another descendant of the Ghost Valley sect. Wei Zhuang. I don't know how strong my martial arts are to the extreme, but my master is far from achieving the same level as yesterday. Wei Zhuang spoke coldly. His master is the Giguzi of the Giga sect, and he is definitely the ceiling of the world. Is it possible that it was a hallucination or some special method used to create it? The speaker is a seductive woman who is extremely charming. Her long purple hair was curled up, bound by a few slender hairpins. Her face was charming, and her eyes flowed with autumn waves. Coupled with a butterfly-like pattern below her left eye, it added a touch of charm. However, every move and gesture reveals a touch of elegance and nobility. A purple long skirt outlines a perfect curve, with a slit at the base of the legs, revealing a pair of long legs wearing black stockings and high heels. As we move, there are countless charms. The whole person looks sexy and charming. Charming and noble. There is also a sense of mystery in the exploration of hidden people. She is the owner of Purple Orchid Pavilion. Purple Girl. It can't be magic or illusion. Wei Zhuang's cold voice was resolute, exuding an unquestionable firmness. Ying Xuan is in Xianyang, Great Qin. However, the pressure emanating from it made him, who was far away in Xinjiang, powerless to resist and kneel in an instant. How could this kind of pressure and momentum be achieved by illusions or illusions? This day. It's going to change. Han Fei came out of the window and looked at the sky, his gaze lingering and filled with infinite emotion. Yin Yang family. Luo Xingtang. This is a vast hall, surrounded, above, and even on the ground, as if shrouded in stars, forming its own universe, as if without boundaries. A stunning woman stood calmly. The woman was wearing a dark blue off-the-shoulder long skirt, which was like an extended goldfish tail, touching the ground slightly, highlighting her slender and graceful figure. The sleeves, hem, and other areas are adorned with golden wide edges, accentuating a touch of nobility. The hair is black and concise, restrained by a sharp hairpin. Dignified and elegant, luxurious and graceful. She is the second most important figure in the Yin Yang family, second only to the leader of the Eastern Emperor Tai, the Eastern Prince Zhang Fei. In front of Zhang Fei, there was a figure covered in a black robe and wearing a black mask. It is the leader of the Yin Yang family. Dong Huang Tai. The deity that appeared yesterday is Ying Xuan. The hoarse voice of Emperor Donghuang sounded and slowly said, "What do you think?" The news came from the moon god, and what she saw with her own eyes must not be false, let alone her appearance. Dongjun Yanfei thought for a moment and her voice was cold and moving. Although moon god doesn't deal with her. But in such matters, the moon god never dares to cheat. Ying Xuan is indeed an extraordinary person. Emperor Donghuang couldn't help but say that Ying Xuan was different from others when he thought of the papermaking, printing, and the curved plough that Ying Xuan had invented before. I believe there are immortals in the world, but Ying Xuan is a fairy. The remaining words of the Eastern Emperor Tai Yi were not finished, but Yan Fei knew he should maintain a skeptical attitude. Follow me to do some divination, I want to see what secrets Ying Xuan has. Emperor Tai can be said to be one of the sealings of this world, and there are few secrets about him in the world. He didn't know it was Ying Xuan before. I dare not touch the divine tiger's power. Now I have received news from Ying Xuan. He is preparing to do some divination on Ying Xuan. He knows that Ying Xuanwu should be very strong, probably not weaker than him. After all, he had already become a great master at the age of 18, and now he is at least in the realm of heaven and humanity. So, he called on Dongjun Yanfei to join him in divination. Yes, Lord Donghuang. Yanfei did not refuse. She is also very curious about Ying Xuan. After learning about Ying Xuan's identity, her reverence in the depths of her heart decreased significantly. After all, the unknown is the most frightening. Let's get started. Emperor Tai took out a piece of 10,000-year-old Xiangui jade, and his true energy poured into it. Yan Fei did not hesitate, but behind her appeared a golden and black virtual shadow, pouring her true energy into it. Buzz, buzz. The Xiangui jade piece rotates rapidly, countless symbols circulate, and something is about to emerge. Emperor Tai and Empress Yan were invigorated, with a hint of excitement and curiosity in their eyes. They increased their strength. Bang! Suddenly, the indestructible 10,000-year black turtle jade shattered into powder, and a pair of indifferent, majestic, sacred, and grand eyes appeared. Like the gaze of a deity, examining them. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Changing the World, Shocked by Ying Zheng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Changing the World, Shocked by Ying Zheng. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and the two were engulfed and limped to the ground. They felt the majestic and suffocating gaze, and were even more trembling and anxious. Emperor Xuanzu spared his life. The villain, unaware of the vastness of heaven and earth, attempted to pry into the mysteries of the heavens, angered the divine power, and committed a heinous crime. The villain is willing to be a cow, a horse, and go through fire and water to redeem himself. The Eastern Emperor was too scared and quickly begged for mercy. The breath of death rushed towards us. This is a great terror he has never felt before. Yan Fei's pretty and dignified cheeks were as pale as paper, crawling on the ground, revealing her perfect figure, unable to speak a word. Ying Xuan's figure has been firmly imprinted in the depths of her soul, difficult to erase. Buzz. The eyes in the sky slowly disappeared, and the Eastern Emperor Tai and Yan Fei exhaled a long breath of turbid air, with their backs already soaked in cold sweat. What a divine power! Like a prison, the divine power is unpredictable. Emperor Tai is full of emotion. Lord Donghuang, what should we do now? Yan Fei's eyes were filled with deep awe when she thought of Ying Xuan. And they seemed to have offended Ying Xuan. Let's go to the state of Qin and make a cow and a horse for Lord Xuanzu. Donghuang Tai stood up without any disappointment. It is an honor to be able to make cows and horses for the gods. No delay. The Eastern Empress Dowager quickly headed towards Xianyang with Empress Yan, as well as powerful figures such as the Grand Minister of the Yin Yang family and the Black and White Young Minister. Xianyang. Xiantian Palace. Ying Xuan withdrew his gaze and nodded slightly at the performance of Emperor Tai. You're quite a good worker. As the ruler of the world of the Great Qin dynasty, he was able to observe the world with just one thought. As long as in Qin, he is the undisputed ruler. Nothing can be hidden from him. As soon as Emperor Donghuang wanted to divine his moment, he sensed something. Just now, if Emperor Tai held a grudge against him, he was extinguished by a single thought. Fortunately, Donghuang Tai performed well. Bring the people of the Yin Yang family directly and prepare to make a horse for him. So, I also managed to save my life. Besides, it's not right to work for him, it's also a blessing they have cultivated for centuries. It's not a problem to become an immortal or a god in the future. Not just the Yin Yang family. Taoist Beimingzi, Confucian Xuanzi, and Zhongheng Giguzi, among others, set off one after another and rushed towards Xianyang after learning of Ying Xuan's news. Xianyang. Zhongtai Palace. A gathering of civil and military officials. There is a lot of discussion. Excitedly discussing the three kingdoms. Eunuch's dictatorship, the path to destruction. Among the people, Lu Bu, among the horses, the Red Rabbit, the world's top general Lu Bu, I wonder how strong he is. Their cultivation methods are rough, without any martial arts techniques, so their strength must not be much stronger. The world is divided and united for a long time. Unexpectedly, the Great Qin unified the world, but in the end, it was destroyed by the remnants of the Chu state, and in the end, Liu Bang even took over the world. However, our Great Qin has a Xuanzu, and we will not be defeated like the Great Qin in the Three Kingdoms hundreds of years ago. The Great Qin will surely be immortal for eternity. My wife Chao is truly a traitor. I would rather let the world down than let them down on me. Liu Bei is also a talented person. He started from scratch and eventually divided the world. Poor Zhuge Liang, he died before he succeeded in his apprenticeship, leaving the hero's tears streaming down his chest. I didn't expect Sun Chao Lu to not be able to unify the world, and in the end, he took advantage of Sima Yi. Sure enough, the only one who survived to the end was the Ying family. Liu Bang is no exception. Just as everyone was excitedly discussing, Ying Zheng walked from behind. The voices of the crowd suddenly stopped and they quickly bowed. Farewell to the king. Don't be too polite. Ying Zheng arrived at the main seat and sat down, looking at the crowd. He said calmly, "You all know about the news of the Three Kingdoms, don't you?" We all understand the news about the Three Kingdoms, but there is another question, which time period is the Three Kingdoms currently in? LV Bouet stepped forward and said, "If we know the timing, we can better target the power arrangements that exist in the Three Kingdoms." What Father Zhong said is very true. Ying Zheng nodded and said, "Let's go visit Xuanzu first, and at the same time, we can also know Xuanzu's requirements and tasks." So Ying Zheng brought LV Bouet, Wang Jian, Gai Nye, Moon God and other high-ranking officials from the Great Qin dynasty to Xiantian Palace to meet Ying Xuan. After a brief salute, Ying Zheng opened the door and said to the mountain, "Xuanzu, now that we have understood the information about the Three Kingdoms, we have confidence in winning them. I don't know what Xuanzu's requirements are. Also, I don't know what time the Three Kingdoms are currently in, so we can better make arrangements." Ying Xuan nodded and said, "The secret realm of the Three Kingdoms is currently in the period of the 18 Marquises conquering Dong. You have 3 tasks." Upon hearing this, Ying Zheng and everyone else immediately perked up their ears and held their breath. Task 1. Conquer or kill LV Bu. Task 2. Conquer or kill Dongzhuo. Task 3. Control 70% of the territory of the Three Kingdoms. I need you to complete it as quickly as possible. This will be an important step for you to become immortals and gods in the future, and also the first step for the Qin to become immortal Qin. Becoming a fairy or a god. Has the Qin turned into Xian Qin? Ying Zheng, LV Buwei, Wang Jian, Gai Nie, Moon God, and others trembled in their hearts, their blood burning fiercely in their chests. They don't know what Xian Qin looks like, but they still have a feeling of boiling blood. A sense of expectation, longing, and mission arises naturally. There is a sense of pride in creating history. I wish I could immediately enter the Three Kingdoms' secret realm and conquer it all. Xuanzu, rest assured and guaranteed to complete the task. Ying Zheng spoke excitedly. The secret realm of the Three Kingdoms will become the territory of the Great Qin in the future, and the people of the Three Kingdoms will be the people of the Great Qin. Don't indiscriminately kill innocent people. Ying Xuan cautioned. In this era, human life is like a blade of grass. But Ying Xuan values it very much. Talents are the most important resource. Yes. Ying Zheng respectfully responded. It takes a lot of time to mobilize the army, and I can instantly move them all over, just outside Xianying City. I have also placed the entrance gate of the Three Kingdoms' secret realm outside the city. After you enter, you should be near Sisui Pass. The 18 feudal lords' expedition against Dong gathered outside the Sisui Pass. Do you know how to do it? Xuanzu, rest assured that within 2 months, the government will definitely be able to capture the Three Kingdoms' secret realm. Ying Zheng was extremely excited. The 18 feudal lords are all outside the Sisui Pass. As long as he catches them all, most of the Three Kingdoms' forces will be eliminated. Later, with his strength, he crushed Dongzhuo. The Three Kingdoms were basically included in the bag. You go ahead, I will move all the troops of Daqin outside Xianying City later. As for the defense task of Daqin, I am here and there is no need to defend. Ying Xuan waved his hand, his calm voice carrying an unparalleled aura and confidence. Thank you, Xuanzu. I'm leaving now. Ying Zheng had no doubt and left with everyone's respect. Everyone had an excited expression on their face. Boom boom. However, as soon as they left the Xiantian Palace, the earth began to shake, and the surrounding mountains seemed to be smoothed out by an invisible hand. Following closely behind were powerful and imposing armies appearing on the flattened plain. That's the Golden Fire Cavalry. There are also 100 battles of armored soldiers. Dragon and Tiger Cavalry. Black Iron Armor. My goodness, all the armies of Daqin have appeared. Xuanzu is truly extraordinary. In an instant, he not only smoothed out all the surrounding mountains, but also moved all the legions from the 4 directions of the Great Qin dynasty. This is a 1,000,000-strong army. If it weren't for what I saw with my own eyes, I wouldn't even dare to dream about it. Ying Zheng was shocked. Gai Nie was also surprised. Lu Buwei, Wang Jian, Moon God, and others were all stunned. Congratulations to the king, God bless the Great Qin. Xuanzu's divine power is vast, and his longevity is on par with heaven. LV Buwei, Wang Jian and others quickly congratulated. I am even more revered for the divine power displayed by Ying Xuan. This is the true power of immortality. In a blink of an eye, it's beyond human reach. Xuanzu is mighty. At this moment, Ying Zheng was just a passionate young man in his early 20s. Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but boil his blood and shout excitedly. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Sealing VIPs gather, seeking collection and recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Sealing VIPs gather, seeking collection and recommendation, outside Xianying City. The leader of the Yin family, Dong Huangtai, and his companions, including Dong Jun Yanfei, Minister of Fire, Senior Minister of Fire, and Minister of Wood, Black and White, rushed to the city. Just as they were about to enter, they suddenly stopped in their tracks. His gaze turned to the side, and an old man with a fairy-like demeanor seemed to slowly walk out of space. His seemingly slow steps suddenly approached him. Beimingzi. Dong Huang Tai recognized the person who came, and Nanran was the most powerful Beimingzi in the current generation of Taoism. Emperor Tai. Beimingzi glanced faintly at Dong Huang Tai, then glanced beside him and chuckled, "What a coincidence. All the old guys have come." As the words fell, an old man wearing a black and white Taoist robe slowly walked out. Giguzi. Giguzi's gaze swept over Dong Huang Tai and Beimingzi, and he slowly said, "I didn't expect us old folks to have the opportunity to gather in Xianyang. I heard that there are immortals in Xianyang who come to the dust. Is there a ritual of not seeing them?" Beimingzi's gaze was lingering, and he was not surprised by the arrival of Dong Huang Tai and Giguzi. After all, the incident of Ying Xuan becoming an immortal is too significant and shocking. No one can remain calm. Even they are not excluded. Boom boom. Suddenly, the earth shook and the mountains shook. The three of them, Dong Huang Tai, Giguzi, and Beimingzi, looked fiercely at each other in an instant. A shocking scene that they will never forget in their lifetime appeared. The mountains seemed to be smoothed out by an invisible palm. Steel-like armies emerged out of thin air. Golden Fire Cavalry. Wearing armor in 100 battles. Dragon and Tiger Cavalry. How could this be possible? How did they appear? Hiss. Is this the power of immortals? Move mountains and fill the sea, you can do anything. Beimingzi was shocked. Giguzi was shocked. Even Emperor Tai, who had previously experienced the divine power of Ying Xuan, was shocked. Invincible. No solution. Terrifying. Terrifying. At the same time, millions of Great Qin warriors were also shocked. They were originally scattered around, but unexpectedly, a flower in front of them came here. Does this seem to be Xianyang? I actually arrived in Xianyang in one go. I'm not dreaming, am I? How could this be possible? It must be a fairy. It's Xuanzu. Xuanzu's divine power is immeasurable. They all heard about the deeds of Ying Xuan, and besides, they had seen the figure of Ying Xuan Weiyan before. Although they were a bit panicked at the moment, there was no chaos. And they were shocked in their hearts, flipping the river and the sea, but did not make a sound. Military discipline of the Great Qin dynasty. It's evident. Boom. Following closely. A huge portal descended from the sky, emitting a brilliant radiance. Authority. Xuanao. Sacred and inviolable. Through the portal, one can vaguely see a vast world. Inside, there are mountains and water, cities, soldiers, flowers, plants, and trees. It's so divine. What immortal means. Xuanzu is truly a divine being. At this moment, Giguzi and Beimingzi, who were originally holding some doubts, completely dispelled their doubts. They have no further doubts about Ying Xuan becoming an immortal. This kind of divine ability, if it weren't for immortality. What is a fairy then? Giguzi, Beimingzi, and Dong Huang Tai, among others, looked up and down with fiery eyes at the huge portal that descended from the sky. For a long time, they reluctantly moved their gaze away and entered Xianyang, seeking to see Ying Zheng. With their status, let alone the descendants of Gigu, Gainye, and the guardians of the Yin Yang family, such as the moon god, in the court, it is not difficult to meet Ying Zheng. After seeing Ying Zheng and learning about the news of the upheaval outside Xianyang city, Giguzi, Beimingzi, and Dong Huang Tai, among others, became excited and quickly expressed their willingness to go on a mission to the Three Kingdoms. This is a secret realm of heaven and earth, it's another world. Even if there are no benefits, going to see it is a great opportunity that I couldn't imagine before. Ying Zheng naturally welcomed this. With them joining, it will be easier to attack the Three Kingdoms if you encounter experts. After agreement, Ying Zheng took them to visit Ying Xuan at the Xiantian Palace. They are all being standing on the ceiling of this world. But at the moment they saw Ying Xuan, they felt like newborn babies, with red fruits placed in front of him without any secrets. Terrifying. Terrifying. They all had the same idea rising up in their hearts. The awe in one's eyes is even greater. After paying respects, Emperor Tai suddenly spoke up. I would like to inform Emperor Xuanzu that Empress Yan, the Eastern Lord, admires the divine power of Emperor Xuanzu and wishes to stay as a slave to serve him. She also apologizes for offending Emperor Xuanzu's divine power before. May I know if this is possible? Dong Huang Tai's voice fell, and Beimingzi and Giguzi, who were about to leave, widened their eyes. Unexpectedly, Dong Huang Tai suddenly came up with this move. If this becomes possible. Isn't there someone in the Yin Yang family here with Xuanzu? Its benefits can be imagined. Ying Xuan looked at Dongjun Yanfei, who was standing respectfully in front of him, with his hands folded on his lower abdomen. Yanfei was wearing a dark blue long skirt, with long hair tied low and a slender hairpin. The crown was adorned with dark blue gemstones, and the skirt was embroidered with a three-legged golden and black pattern. The goose-egg face is dignified and grand, possessing the unparalleled charm of aristocratic women, giving people an indescribable elegance and coldness that exudes a phoenix-like charm throughout the world. Beautiful to the extreme, but also cold to the extreme. Like a heavenly goddess, for a mortal man, it is unattainable and can only be seen from afar, not played with profanity. She and the moon god are sisters, surnamed Ji, with noble blood. However, under the scrutiny of Ying Xuan at this moment, Yan Fei's dignified and beautiful fair cheeks couldn't help but climb up with a tempting blush. She was previously betrayed by the divination of Ying Xuan with the Eastern Emperor Tai, and his figure was deeply imprinted in her soul. The heart of Gu Jing Wubo was like a deer bumping into each other. Okay. Just as Yan Fei, Dong Huang Tai, and others were nervous and anxious, Ying Xuan's faint voice finally sounded. The two felt relieved. A great joy surged into my heart. And Beimingzi, Giguzi and others are lemons. Shaoran, please leave. Emperor Tai left Empress Yan behind and left with Beimingzi and others. Soon. The news of Yan Fei staying in Xiantian Palace swept through all the high-ranking officials and nobles in Xianyang like wings. Countless people cursed Emperor Tai for being shameless. However, my mind became lively. LV Buwei, Wang Jian, and others all thought of their own daughters and granddaughters. If we can establish a relationship with Ying Xuan, then we can achieve great success. And Ying Xuan has not yet married. If one's daughter or granddaughter marries Ying Xuan, it will soar to the sky. When civil and military officials such as LV Buwei and Wang Jian were preparing to find ways to pass the Xiantian Palace to Ying Xuan, some people in Xianyang City were most angry and jealous. She is now the moon god, the protector of the state of Qin. The moon god and Yan Fei are sisters. Both of them are proud daughters of heaven. Whether it's talent or martial arts wisdom, they are all first class. That's why same-sex people are mutually exclusive. Even sisters are not excluded. The two have been arguing since childhood. But Yan Fei suppressed the moon god's head everywhere. Yan Fei is Dongjun, the second most important figure in the Yin Yang family. The moon god is only a protector, although he holds a high position, he is second to the position of the Eastern Lord. She was originally planning to establish a good relationship with Ying Xuan. If it could deepen the relationship, that would be even better. However, she never expected it. On the first day of Yan Fei's arrival in Xianyang, she directly moved into Ying Xuan's Xiantian Palace. Damn it. Bitch. You're shameless. The moon god cursed in his heart, and under his thin veil, his deep and beautiful eyes were filled with strong unwillingness and jealousy. She knows. Once Yan Fei receives Ying Xuan's favor, she won't want to defeat Yan Fei in her lifetime. No, I need to act quickly. I can't wait any longer. The moon god is in a hurry. She has a high status and can directly meet Ying Xuan. Therefore, she delivered the door herself. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Expedition to the Three Kingdoms, Seeking Collection and Recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Expedition to the Three Kingdoms, Seeking Collection and Recommendation, Zhangtai Palace. Ying Zheng also received news that Consort Yan was staying in the Xiantian Palace. And he also knew that his subordinates were preparing to send people inside, as well as the fact that the moon god himself took the initiative to send them to his door. Ying Zheng was not angry. I didn't pay much attention to the careful thinking of the civil and military personnel under my command. Xuanzu once devoted himself to seeking immortality and asked, I have not married yet and have no offspring. Now that I have achieved immortality, I do need some concubines. It was my negligence. Ying Zheng felt guilty and self-blaming in his heart. There are 3 ways to be unfilial, and having no offspring is great. He didn't expect to find a group of beautiful women for Ying Xuan. This is his negligence. There are many beautiful women in the secret realm of the Three Kingdoms, but Jiao Chan, Kai Yan, De Qiao, and Xiao Qiao are all good. They happened to grab them and offer them to Xuanzu. Ying Zheng secretly decided in his heart. A 1,000,000-strong army outside the city has been reorganized by Wang Jian, Wang Ben, Li Xian, Nei Sherding, Meng Wu, Meng Tian, and others to learn about the upcoming attack on the Three Kingdoms. Everyone has high morale and a strong fighting spirit. Ying Zheng is preparing to launch an attack on the Three Kingdoms' secret realm tomorrow. At the same time, the kings of the 6 kingdoms and the leaders of the wolf tribe have all received letters from the envoys of the Qin state. Within a month, submit or perish. South Korea. Xinjiang. Palace. How unreasonable. The state of Qin is really too arrogant. Han Wangen was panting heavily and furious. After cursing loudly at the civil and military officials such as Kai Kai and Ji Wuye, he sat down on the throne dejectedly and asked, What do you think? Father, our ancestors' territory cannot be measured by humans. Han Fei stepped forward and arched his hand, saying, Qin is powerful and domineering, relying solely on its own national strength and the emergence of Ying Xuan. For today's plan, we can only unite to resist Qin, unite the strength of the 6 countries, and resist Qin. What Jiao Gongzi said is not right. Ji Wuye sneered and said, combine the power of the 6 states to resist the Qin state. Not to mention the strong combat power of the Qin state, just Ying Xuan, who is like an immortal god, cannot resist. The power of immortality is beyond human intervention. Is it possible that my century-old foundation in South Korea has been handed over to others like this? The general has received my salary from South Korea, so don't sit crooked. Han Fei said coldly. I'm just telling the truth. Ji Wuye disdainfully said, as long as Jiao Gongzi can block Ying Xuan, I will personally go to battle and block the army of Qin. But can you stop Ying Xuan, 9th young master? Once you provoke the state of Qin, blood will flow into a river, and there may be a risk of annihilation. Upon hearing this, Han Wangen's body trembled and a hint of fear flashed in his eyes. He knew the danger of annihilation mentioned by Ji Wuye. It was not another race, it must be his Korean royal family. Han Fei opened his mouth and didn't know how to say it. He naturally cannot stop Ying Xuan. He also knows that South Korea is blocking Qin, let alone Ying Xuan. I know better that a 6-country alliance is simply impossible. He opposed it only because he was unwilling. He wanted to say that it would be better to be a broken jade than a complete ruin, but in the end, he did not say it. Moreover, he knew that his father, King Han Wangen, was as timid as a mouse, and did not have the courage and determination to be willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of jade. Alright, that's it for today. Back to court. Han Wangen impatiently waved his hand and left directly. He is currently in a state of confusion and doesn't know how to make a choice. So. I chose to escape. Anyway, it will take a month. Don't rush to make a decision now. He arrived at the Imperial Fragrance Pavilion, preparing to find Lady Mingzhu to relax and ease his mood. As soon as he entered the Imperial Fragrance Pavilion, a mist of incense penetrated his nose. Han Wangen's hollowed-out body suddenly felt light and ethereal, with an indescribable sense of pleasure all over. "Madam." Han Wangen straightened his belly and shouted loudly with a lewd smile. "King." A proud figure walked from behind, dressed in enchanting attire and with black threads like a waterfall. A few exquisite hairpins bound her soft and long hair, with long steps hanging at the tail and two precious pearls hanging. As she walked, she swayed slightly, highlighting her stunning and enchanting beauty. Her narrow and beautiful eyes flickered slightly, with a seductive smile that seemed to sway. Her small lips curled slightly upwards, and her red lips parted slightly, wanting to attract a kiss and beauty. Han Wang felt relieved and dazzled. He reached out to grab the soft little hand of the Tide Witch, Lady Mingzhu, but was evaded without a trace. Then, the illusion technique, combined with the Baiyue incense, pulled Han Wangen into a dreamland. In a dream, Han Wangen was full of energy and his body was unprecedentedly good, feeling very happy. Waste. Mrs. Mingzhu glanced at Han Wangen, who was lying on the bed, rolling back and forth with a blanket in her arms. Unable to extricate herself from the illusion, her eyes were filled with contempt and disdain. Every time Han Wangen comes to Lady Mingzhu's place, he feels it is a great pleasure, so he favors Lady Mingzhu in every way possible. In fact, he didn't even touch his fingers, and his body was emptied by Lady Mingzhu's illusions and medication, and it's getting worse day by day. While King An of Han was holding a blanket in his dream and lost in thought of Shu, the kings of Zhao, Wei, Qi, Yan, and Chu, as well as the leader of the wolf tribe, Man Chanyu, were also discussing strategies for Qin. It's just a matter of whether to surrender or not, and there's still ongoing debate. What they fear the most is Ying Xuan, who looks like a fairy. If it weren't for Ying Xuan, they wouldn't even consider surrendering. For these, Ying Xuan was very clear, but he didn't care. He knows. Under his authority, both the Six Kingdoms and the Wolf Clan had no choice but to surrender unconditionally. Interesting. Suddenly, Ying Xuan's mouth curved slightly and he looked out with great interest. He sensed that the moon god had arrived outside the Xiantian palace. Ying Xuan is very clear about the sisters of Moon God and Zhang Fei. Sisters love and kill each other. It's quite interesting. What are you doing here? Zhang Fei looked at the moon god, and her gentle and beautiful eyes suddenly became cold. Her cold gaze was like a queen overlooking the world, cold and heartless. As the sister of the moon god, she can also guess what the moon god is thinking. Of course I came to pay my respects to Xuanzu. The voice of the moon god remained calm, as if he had not seen the cold gaze of Zhang Fei. He slowly said, "Please report to Xuanzu, Lord Dongjun." Zhang Fei frowned. Although she held a higher position in the Yin-Yang family than the moon god, she dared not make her own decisions regarding Ying Xuan's affairs. Let her in. Just as Zhang Fei was about to inform Ying Xuan whether to receive the moon god, Ying Xuan's voice rang in her mind. Follow me. Zhang Fei glanced deeply at the moon god and turned around to take her inside. The moon god's rosy little mouth slightly raised, which was not surprising. Ying Xuan has great supernatural powers. Zhang Fei would never dare to bypass Ying Xuan and directly stop her. Soon, Zhang Fei brought the moon god to Ying Xuan. Compared to Zhang Fei's noble and graceful demeanor as a goddess, the moon god is like the Guanhan fairy in the middle of the month, ethereal and elusive, exuding mystery. The veil covered her eyes, making it impossible to see her perfect face. I can only see those coveted watery little mouths, red and shiny, eager to attract a kiss. She folded her hands on her lower abdomen, with the same dignified and elegant demeanor as Zhang Fei. With a graceful bow, her voice was ethereal and graceful. The moon god pays homage to Emperor Xuanzu and wishes him endless holy longevity, immortal blessings, and longevity aligned with heaven. A pleasant fragrance filled the nose, different from the fragrance on Zhang Fei's body, but equally pleasant and refreshing. Don't be too polite. Ying Xuan looked at the moon god in front of him and said, "Do you have anything to do with me? I admire the divine power of Emperor Xuanzu and want to serve him left and right, in order to listen to his teachings and seek his fulfillment." The moon god didn't beat around the bush and spoke directly. She knew that playing tricks in front of Ying Xuan would definitely be useless, maybe it would backfire. Oh. Ying Xuan's gaze flowed over the moon god, and in the latter's nervous and anxious mood, he nodded and said, "Then you can stay." "Thank you, Xuanzu." The moon god was overjoyed, and the heart that had originally mentioned her throat finally fell. "Zhang Fei, I will definitely defeat you." The moon god secretly swore. The moon god stayed in the Shen palace and became a close maid like consort Yen. Make tea. Pour wine. Pinch your shoulders. Beat your back. The two of them secretly competed, and Ying Xuan sat steadily on the fishing platform, enjoying it. One night. Quietly passing away. Today. It was the day when the elite of the Great Qin dynasty set out to conquer the secret realm of the Three Kingdoms. With Wang Jian as the commander and Li Xian, Nei Shirdan, and Meng Wu as deputy generals, he led a 1,000,000-strong army including the Golden Fire Cavalry of the Great Qin, 100 battle-armored cavalry, Dragon and Tiger Cavalry, and Black Iron Armored Cavalry. Donghuang Tai, Giguzi, Beimingzi, and Xuanzi, who followed them, accompanied 100 masters from various schools. Wang Jian stood firm and resolute, riding a warhorse, in front of the three armies. Looking at the sacred and majestic gateway, he was very excited in his heart. Yesterday they sent scouts to investigate the news and confirmed the time. At this moment, the 18 feudal lords are in front of Sisui Pass. Guan Yu has not yet beheaded Hua Xiong. But it's about the same. Embark. Wang Jian drew his sword and pointed forward. Wind. 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 Millions of soldiers cheered together, their emotions stirred, and then walked with neat steps, like a long dragon entering the door. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Chow Chow Startled, Seeking Collection and Recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Chow Chow Startled, Seeking Collection and Recommendation. This is the Three Kingdoms' secret realm. A brand new world. It is said that similar to our Great Qin, it can be regarded as the world more than 400 years later. I don't know how Xuanzu did it, he's really divine. It is said that this is just the beginning, and there will be more and stronger secret realms in the future, such as the method of immortality, immortality elixirs, divine weapons, etc. Everything is possible. Beimingzi, Giguzi, Dong Huangtai and others felt everything about the Three Kingdoms world, with curiosity and anticipation in their eyes. Buzz. Two stunning and cold figures, one black and one white, appeared in front of the Eastern Emperor Tai. It was the elder of the wood department of the Yin Yang family, the black and white young commander. They came over yesterday to investigate the news. Of course. They are not the only ones who are investigating the news, but also the scouts who are trapped, the military scouts dispatched by Wang Jian, and so on. What's the news? Dong Huangtai asked. Today, Hua Xiong challenged the 18 root marquises outside the Sisui Pass. The black-clad young master said coldly in a voice devoid of any emotion. It seems that today is the time for Guan Yu to warm his wine and slay Hua Xiong. Beimingzi said. After slaying Hua Xiong, the 18 feudal lords were able to successfully capture Sisui Pass. Giguzi followed suit and said. They had already read the Three Kingdoms book handed over by Ying Xuan to Ying Zheng yesterday. At this point, Wang Jian walked over and also received news from his scouts. General Wang, according to the previous plan, we will go to Luoyang to keep an eye on Dong Zhuo and Lvbu, so that they don't run away when the time comes. Emperor Dong Huang looked at Wang Jian. Because Ying Xuan gave 3 tasks, 2 of which were to subdue or kill Lvbu and Dong Zhuo. In order to ensure that everything was safe and sound, when Ying Zheng and them made a plan, they prepared to have martial arts masters such as Dong Huang Tai, Bimingzi, Giguzi, Xuanzi, etc. go to Luoyang first to monitor Lvbu and Dong Zhuo. If 2 people want to escape, take them down or kill them. And Wang Jian led a large army to crush them and complete the 3rd task, mastering 70% of the territory of the 3 kingdoms. Thank you all. Wang Jian arched his hand. General Wang, you're welcome. They all served the Great Qin and the Xuanzu. The Eastern Emperor and others were polite for a while, and then left silently. With their strength. Keep an eye on Lvbu and Dong Zhuo, they can never escape. Neishi Teng. When the Eastern Emperor Tai and others left, Wang Jian immediately issued an order. You lead 200,000 dragon and tiger cavalry to encircle the left wing and seal off the left wing of the 18 feudal lords. Before I launch an attack, do not move lightly. I will take orders. Nei Shirting quickly left with 200,000 dragon and tiger cavalry. Li Xian. The end will come. Li Xian immediately stepped out. You lead a 200,000 strong army to encircle from the right wing and seal off the right wing of the 18 feudal lords. Do not move lightly before I launch an attack. I will take orders. Li Xian quickly left with his army. Wang Jian led the remaining army to slowly advance from the front, and when the 18 feudal lords captured Sisui Pass, it was the moment when he launched a total attack. Along the way, Dong Zhuo and the scouts of the 18 marquises were secretly solved by experts such as the Trap and the Yin Yang family. The dimension reduction blow of martial arts cultivation was completely uprooted by the great killing tool of the Trap and the efforts of the experts of the Yin Yang family. The scouts had no resistance at all. Inside the Xiantian palace, Ying Xuan lazily lay on the Grand Tutor's chair, with the moon god and concubine Yan serving on both sides. Buzz. Ying Xuan waved his hand lightly, and a huge light curtain suddenly appeared in mid-air. The light curtain reflected the scene of Wang Jian and others in the secret realm of the 3 kingdoms. Xuanzu has great supernatural powers. Standing aside, Ying Zheng couldn't help but marvel. Every time he saw Ying Xuan make a move, there was a different kind of shock. The same goes for Lvbu and others. They all raised their heads and focused on the scene in mid-air. Ying Xuan saw that Wang Jian was still on his way and didn't have much interest. With a wave of his big hand, another light curtain condensed out. Report, report. Report to the leader of the alliance, General Yu and Hua Xiong fought for 1 round before being beheaded and dismounted. Ah! 1 turn. 1 round. Ah, Hua Xiong is indeed brave. Who dares to fight in Hua Xiong? Duke Yuan, I have General Pan Feng, who holds a 100-pound mountain axe with extraordinary courage. He must be able to slay Hua Xiong. First of all, it's a famous scene. Ying Xuan looked at the light curtain in mid-air, chuckled lightly, lifted his teacup, and took a soft sip. Yan Fei, Moon God, Ying Zheng, Lvbu and others stared intently at the light curtain, afraid of missing a single moment. They didn't go to the 3 kingdoms' secret realm, but it's good to be able to see it here at the moment. Report. Report to the alliance leader, General Pan and Hua Xiong were killed on horseback after less than 1 round of battle. What? Was he beheaded again? In the picture, screams of surprise rang out one after another. Ying Zheng looked at it with great interest, even though he had read the script, he still felt it was very interesting. This Hua Xiong is actually a fierce general. Ying Zheng praised. If the king likes it, he can send someone to notify General Wang Jian at this moment. He can also save Hua Xiong for his own use. A minister said. The plan has been made, how can it be changed at will, let alone interfered with outside, how can we fight? Ying Zheng's calm voice was devoid of any fireworks, but the minister who had just spoken trembled in his heart and knelt on the ground, hurriedly saying. Your Majesty, I apologize for your mistake. Get down. Ying Zheng said calmly. Wei Chen, please leave. The minister's eyes dimmed and he quickly stepped down. He knew he had lost his favor. The future is bleak. Liu Buwei sneered in his heart, flattering without thinking, no wonder he would pat on a horse's hoof. Saving Hua Xiong means taking action early, and the losses will inevitably increase significantly. Is it comparable to Hua Xiong? Moreover, if this delays Xuanzu's mission, 10,000 Hua Xiong will not be enough to compensate. He continued to gaze at the scene. And Ying Xuan didn't care either. Zhang Fei and the moon god were serving on both sides, doing their best. They had no interest in anything like Hua Xiong. Hua Xiong is relatively good among the generals of the three kingdoms, but if we really fight against them alone and compete for strength, any of them can beat Hua Xiong. Who dares to fight in Hua Xiong, with a reward of 1,000 taels and a gift of 100 good horses? In the picture, Yuan Shao asked, who dares to go to war? The lords looked at each other, but no one responded. Unfortunately, my general Yan Liang Wenka is not here. If someone were here, how could Hua Xiong be reckless? Ma Gongshou Guan Yu invites Hua Xiong to battle. Guan Yu's departure. What? You little archer dares to speak wildly. Do you think our lords don't have a great general anymore? Fork out. Yuan Shu shouted. Brother Highway, calm down. Cao Cao stood up and said, since this person has come forward, he must have courage and strategy. Why not let him give it a try? Meng De, isn't it shameful for Hua Xiong to send a small archer to battle? Brother Highway, please take a look. The reclining eyebrows and phoenix eyes of this life, full of heroic aura, how could Hua Xiong know he was an archer? This person surnamed Chao is right. Zhang Fei's voice sounded like a bell, and he proudly said, second brother, this archer, surpasses all your generals and nobles. Seeing everyone hesitating, Guan Yu said calmly, if you can't chop off Hua Xiong's head, then chop off Guan's head to apologize. Liu Bei also stood up and said, Lu Guanzhang, the three brothers, live and die together. If my second brother is defeated, I am willing to behead my three brothers. Okay. Lu Xuande is truly a relative of the royal family, full of ambition. Cao Cao said in a loud voice, Military Academy, bring me some wine. I want to propose a toast to this brave warrior. Cao Cao picked up his wine glass and handed it to Guan Yu. Please. No need. Little Hua Xiong, why borrow wine? Later, Duke, Guan will go and return. Guan Yu goes out and warms the wine to slay Hua Xiong. Ying Zheng and others have seen the three kingdoms given by Ying Xuan and are very clear about it. These 18 vassals' campaign against Dong is similar to the 6 countries' joint attack on Qin in the past. People's hearts are not aligned, and each has their own plans. How could they possibly succeed in the end? Ying Zheng thought of the incident of the 6 kingdoms attacking Qin and sighed. Your Majesty's words are true, but now with the arrival of the Great Qin Iron Cavalry, Dongzhuo has also come to an end. Feng Quji agreed with the Wei. Next, it's up to General Wang. Ying Zheng stared closely at the scene in mid-air, only to see Guan Yu slashing Hua Xiong 3 times, shocking the 18 feudal lords with Hua Xiong's head, and thus becoming famous throughout the world. Yuan Shao and others took this opportunity to launch a large army attack on Sisui Pass. Due to the beheading of Hua Xiong, the military's morale was unstable and Sisui Pass was quickly breached. Central Army Camp. Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, and other 18 feudal lords were radiant with joy. Kill. Kill! Kill! Suddenly, the earth trembled, the deafening cries of killing filled the ears, and a massive evil energy swept across all directions. Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, and other 18 feudal lords were greatly surprised. What's going on? Where did the shouting of "kill" come from? Report. Leader, it's not good, it's not good. Suddenly, a large army suddenly emerged around us, massive and unstoppable, heading straight towards the Chinese army's headquarters. A detective hurriedly crawled in from outside the tent and shouted anxiously. What? Where did the army come from? Is it Dong Zhuo's reinforcements? How could it be possible? I didn't hear that Dong Zhuo sent reinforcements over, did he? Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, Chao Chao, Han Fu, Kong Rong and other 18 feudal lords were confused and quickly walked outside the tent. Ah! At this moment, screams of agony echoed outside the tent, and as soon as Yuan Shao and others came out, they saw assassins with cold faces, like hellish messengers, coming to kill them. Soldiers were killed one by one like chopping melons and vegetables. These assassins are the world-renowned 7 kingdoms of the Great Qin dynasty, known as the all-encompassing and all-encompassing assassins. Hiss. Chao Chao took a cold breath in his heart. It was the first time he had seen such a terrifying assassin. His swordsmanship was so terrifying, as if he had been born for slaughter. Suddenly, Chao Chao's eyes lit up and he stared big. I saw a stunning woman walking slowly with long legs. She was wearing a slit red long skirt and a black outer coat, which accentuated her slender figure with a graceful and charming temperament. She had a seductive crimson jade hand supporting her small waist, a melon seed face exuding a cold charm, 3-dimensional features that exuded a hint of aggression, and a strand of hair sliding from her forehead, adding a touch of confidence and arrogance. Mature and cold charm. The imperial elder sister exudes an air of elegance. Especially those slender and straight long legs, wearing purple patterned stockings, paired with red high heels, complement each other, especially eye-catching. Chao Chao, who liked beautiful women and wives, was stunned. He has seen many beauties. But this is the first time he has seen such a fashionable and charming lady, and his heart is restless and unbearable. However, in the next moment, Chao Chao's hot and dry heart instantly became icy cold. I saw the Siming's seductive and beautiful, red and almost eerie slender jade hand lift up, accompanied by a dark red mist, a skull seal condensed out, and he slapped across the air. One of his subordinates, a general, was beaten to death with a palm several meters apart. Hiss. Chao Chao was stunned. Who am I? Where am I? I didn't dream, did I? New book set sale, brothers and sisters, please recommend and collect. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Zhang Fei vs Meng Tian, seeking recommendation and collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Zhang Fei vs Meng Tian, seeking recommendation and collection, is it a demon from the Taiping Road? Do they really know magic? Not only was Chao Chao stunned. Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, Kong Rong and other feudal lords beside him were also stunned. This is the first time they have seen such a method of killing. The dark red mist condensed into a terrifying skull seal, and then with a palm from the air, it killed the person. It was so divine, so evil. Chang! Chang! Just as they were shocked by the death of the Grand Commandant's skeleton blood handprint, a cold and piercing sword was placed around their necks, and the intimidating sharpness cut their necks, causing them to ache and bloodstains to overflow. But it was the trap killer who controlled them. Who are you? Chao Chao forced himself to calm down and looked at the mature, cold and charming Grand Minister. In these trap killers and big shots, the identity and status of big shots are obviously higher. Stop talking nonsense, just stay honest with me. Who dares to make a move? Kill without mercy. The cold and piercing voice of Dai Ming echoed, causing Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, and others to tremble like sieves, almost not being scared to pee. Although Cao Cao was not scared, he dared not say much. They looked around. As far as their gaze could see, their SS was massacred by unknown cavalry, completely on one side. Where is this army? This cavalry is even more terrifying than the brave and skilled Xiuyang Iron Cavalry, it's really too strong. Who in the world can stop such elite? Cao Cao looked at the Qin cavalry with envy in his eyes. If he had such a cavalry, he could wake up laughing in his dreams. There's no way. The crushing of the world level. Although the strength of the Three Kingdoms generals is good, the gap is obvious compared to the Tianqing Qin world, which has already reached the level of medium or even high martial arts. The physical fitness of the Qin Iron Cavalry soldiers completely surpasses that of the soldiers of the Three Kingdoms. Any soldier from the Great Qin dynasty is at least comparable to a second-rate general from the Three Kingdoms. Moreover, the Iron Cavalry of the Great Qin dynasty was equipped with the domineering mechanism technique of the public losers, crushing the equipment of the Three Kingdoms with both weapons and armor. For them, it's a dimensionality reduction blow, done. Yuan Shu, Yuan Shao, and others watched their guards being slaughtered with despair in their eyes, limping to the ground and collapsing. Before the Sisui Pass. Liu Bei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Sun Jian, and others took advantage of the fact that Hua Xiong was killed and led their troops to charge, and with one go, captured Sisui Pass. Ha ha ha, it's great. What a pleasure. Zhang Fei held a blood-stained Zhangba spear in his hand, sounding like a thunderous bell, howling up to the sky, and his whole body was full of excitement. Next to him, Guan Yu held the green dragon moon blade in one hand and gently stroked his beautiful beard with the other, his expression proud. Boom boom. Suddenly, the earth trembled, as if 1,000 armies and horses were rushing towards it, or as if a dragon had turned over and thrown mountains and seas. What kind of ghost? Zhang Fei looked up and was immediately stunned. At some point, a black armored cavalry swept in like a black river, vast and unstoppable. Especially the terrifying momentum formed by the cavalry's impact made Zhang Fei feel immense pressure and palpitations. He has the courage to withstand countless challenges. Taking the head of a general from 1,000 armies and horses is like exploring a bag to retrieve an object. However, faced with such terrifying cavalry, even Zhang Fei dared not rashly charge into the formation, let alone take the head of a general among thousands of soldiers. What an elite cavalry, compared to the invincible Xiuyang Iron Cavalry, they are not at the same level. Guan Yu's hand lightly caressed his beautiful beard, and even with his arrogance, he couldn't help but feel solemn, sincerely praising him. If I had such a cavalry, why worry about not achieving great success and not annihilating Han bandits? Liu Bei looked envious and filled his heart with longing. Big brother, these cavalry have been killed. Is it Dong Zhuo's secret ace that his reinforcements have arrived? Zhang Fei clenched his spear in his hand, eager to try. Although these cavalry are terrifying, he has never seen such elite cavalry before. But who is Zhang Fei? Who has he ever been afraid of? He really wants to charge up at this moment and try the depth of this cavalry. Second brother and third brother, this army is not well received, but it doesn't seem like Dong Zhuo's men and horses. Liu Bei looked at the mighty Qin cavalry, which was like a black dragon sweeping towards him, and said in a deep voice, "Look at the flag, it seems to be pre-Qin script, and I don't know who formed it. It's so elite. Be careful later, focus on preserving your strength. Don't force it." Liu Bei solemnly instructed. He has no soldiers and no territory now. The only thing they have is two brothers with extraordinary courage. This is the capital for him to achieve great things. Wives can be lost or lost. But brothers cannot be lost or lost. In his words, women are like clothes, brothers are like limbs. Clothes can be changed. Hands and feet cannot be broken. Don't worry, big brother. Zhang Fei and Guan Yu spoke in unison. The voice is full of confidence. The people who want to kill them in this world have not yet been born. Kill. Kill. A terrifying aura rushed towards us, and the soldiers under the command of the 18 feudal lords were scattered by the iron cavalry of the Great Qin, unable to form an army. They had just captured Sisui Pass, their minds relaxed, and they were preparing to enjoy the fruits of victory. Who would have thought of someone suddenly launching a surprise attack? There is no preparation or combat capability at all. Up. Zhang Fei wielded his Zhangba snake spear and swept away 1,000 soldiers, flying 2 cavalry of the Great Qin dynasty. He shouted sternly. Yen person Zhang Fei is here, who dares to fight me? The thunderous sound is rolling like a tiger or a leopard. The hearts and minds of the surrounding Qin iron cavalry were all intimidated by Zhang Fei. It has to be said. Zhang Fei's loud voice and imposing demeanor are indeed impressive. The savior of Changbanpo's solo cavalry, who entered 7 times and exited 7 times, was the most glorious moment of Zhao Yun's life. With this sound, he shook the world and his name has been passed down for generations. And Zhang Fei, who was guarding the Dangyang Bridge, was even more impressive, waiting for work with ease. With 3 loud roars, he alone retreated 1 million soldiers from the Chao family. What was even more terrifying was that Xiahou Jie, who was beside Cao Cao, was so frightened that his liver and gallbladder were shattered, and he fell down from the horse and died. Zhang Fei's roar was evident. I'll fight you. In the Great Qin iron cavalry, a young general rushed out. He rode a fully armed warhorse, dressed in Sanyan armor, and wielded a long spear, killing Zhang Fei. Up. Zhang Fei's angry eyes widened and he pointed his spear forward. Who are you, Zhang Fei? I won't kill the unknown. Don't be fooled by Zhang Fei's recklessness, he is actually not a brainless person. His words are also probing the origin of the enemy. Liu Bei, Guan Yu, Sun Jian, and others perked up their ears. Curious about the origin of this cavalry. Meng Tian, under the command of King Qin of the Great Qin. Meng Tian did not conceal it, and there was no need to conceal it. Now he is still young, just debuted, just 1,000 years old, unable to lead a single army. However, after this conquest of the 3 kingdoms, as long as he makes great contributions and leads a single army, it will not be a problem. De Qin. King Qin. Meng Tian. What kind of ghost? The Great Qin has been destroyed for hundreds of years. Could it be that the remnants of the Great Qin have secretly rebuilt and continued to use the title of the famous generals of the Great Qin? Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and others thought a lot for a moment. They never thought that Meng Tian and others came from other worlds. This is unimaginable. They immediately believed it to be a remnant of the Qin dynasty. Moreover, looking at the military system and flag, it is indeed similar to the former Qin dynasty. What counterfeit goods, Meng Tian? Look at me poking you through 10,000 transparent holes. Zhang Fei drank loudly and rode his horse to charge. Dang dang. The Zhangba snake spear collided with the long spear, and the 2 of them passed sideways. What a great power! Zhang Fei's hand holding the Zhangba snake spear trembled, his eyes shocked, and his heart stirred up a storm. I didn't expect the other party to have such power at a young age. Undoubtedly, he is a famous fierce general in the 3 kingdoms. If he were to cultivate our military tactics in the world of Great Qin, his strength would inevitably skyrocket. I am afraid that I am no match now. But now. Meng Tian's mouth curved slightly, and he drove his warhorse to kill Zhang Fei again. Kill. Although Zhang Fei was shocked, he was not a loser either. Angry eyes widened wide. Roar and kill. When? He thrust his spear fiercely, and the air emitted an unbearable piercing sound. The spear turned into a lingering shadow, like a spirit snake spitting out a message. Meng Tian leaned slightly to his side, his spear passing through his chest but leaving no trace. Sanyan armor has extremely strong defense. The master of the Mahist school in the Great Qin world, Gao Jianli, holds the 7th water-cold sword on the list of famous swords, but cannot pierce Meng Tian's Sanyan armor. How could it be possible? Zhang Fei was dumbfounded. Before he could react, Meng Tian's long spear came from behind and hit Zhang Fei hard like an iron whip. Touch! Zhang Fei vomited blood and fell off his horse, falling 3 zhang away, and suddenly passed out. Third brother. Guan Yu's phoenix eyes were wide open, and his anger was raging. With one hand dragging the green dragon Yenhua blade, he rode his horse forward. Shoo shoo shoo. The long knife rubbed against the ground, making a piercing noise. The terrifying blade is condensing. Climbing. Climbing. Continuously climbing. Guan Yu's ultimate skill. Dragging the blade technique. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Tianzi First Class Killer, Recommended and Collected. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Tianzi First Class Killer, Recommended and Collected, Daqin. Xianyang. Xiantian Palace. Meng Tian is not bad, he is a tiger in the door and has the demeanor of a father. Ying Zheng looked at the light curtain and nodded slightly. Upon hearing this, LV Bouet and others knew that Meng Tian had caught Ying Zheng's eye and had a bright future ahead. Guan Yu made a move. Everyone gathered their spirits and looked forward to the battle between Guan Yu and Meng Tian. The martial arts of the Great Qin dynasty are stronger than those of the Three Kingdoms. But Meng Tian has not yet fully grown up. However, Guan Yu was one of the top 5 generals in the Three Kingdoms. The key to Guan Yu's dragging sword decision lies in gathering momentum. The first 3 swords are stronger than the last, but as long as you hold on to the 3 swords, the back will be easier. Gai Nye stared at the light curtain and thought to himself. Guan Yu's strength is not particularly strong for him, even LV Bu cannot be his opponent. But its mountain stones can be used to attack Jade. Moreover, if Guan Yu had learned the martial arts of the Great Qin, his strength would have been extremely terrifying, and even he was not confident that he could defeat him. Everyone's attention was focused on the light curtain, and only Ying Xuan, Zhang Fei, and Moon God were present without paying attention. In Ying Xuan's eyes, the battle between Meng Tian and Guan Yu was no different from a child playing house. Even if Ying Xuan did not rely on the power of the Qin world, he also has land immortal cultivation. It can be regarded as the ceiling of the Qin world. Even Dong Wang Tai, Beimingzi, and Giguzi were like ants in his eyes, and could be killed with just one move. And both Zhang Fei and Moon God had their hearts on Ying Xuan. Zhang Fei poured wine. The delicate jade hands of the Moon God peeled the grape skins and fed the grapes to Ying Xuan's mouth, feeling very happy and carefree. Ying Xuan looked at the light curtain lightly, just like watching a real martial arts blockbuster. I saw Guan Yu riding his horse 3 zhang in front of Meng Tian. The green dragon Yenhua blade was suddenly raised, with a charging force, and he swung it down. This knife is like lightning, like rushing thunder, sweeping mountains and seas, destroying everything. Good time. Meng Tian felt immense pressure, but her eyes became even more excited. Long spear crossbar. When a huge force swept along the long spear, shaking his arms numb. Wait for him to catch his breath. Guan Yu's second sword followed closely and struck. Like the surging river water. Continuously flowing. Meng Tian's body trembled and couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Bang! The third blow followed closely. Meng Tian's arm was numb, and he couldn't stop it in time. The cold blade of the Qinlong Yenhua blade cut through his chest and swung him away with a single blow. How impressive! Meng Tian fell to the ground, stabilized his body, and his qi and blood churned in his body, but he was not injured. Although Guan Yu's Qinglong Yenhua blade is powerful, it is much inferior to Gao Jianli's Shuihan sword. Even the Shuihan sword cannot break through Meng Tian's Zhangyan armor, let alone Guan Yu. Of course. If Guan Yu had practiced the martial arts of the Great Qin, it would not have been too difficult to break through Meng Tian's Zhangyan armor. What a formidable armor! Guan Yu's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly, but he didn't expect his green dragon Yenhua blade to leave a trace on Meng Tian's Zhangyan armor. Drive! Guan Yu did not stop and rode forward. Although Zhangyan armor was powerful, as long as he chopped Meng Tian's neck, Zhangyan armor could not resist. Buzz! However, at this moment, a dark red aura filled the air, as if blocking the sun. The surroundings became dim, and the terrifying murderous aura seemed like substance, overwhelming Guan Yu's mind like a mountain and sea. Guan Yu squinted his eyes and noticed a red light in front of him, blinding him. Yin flourishes and Yang extinguishes, day conceals the sun. A low voice sounded, and Guan Yu felt palpitations and goosebumps all over his body. Danger, the ultimate danger envelopes every cell in the body. A great enemy. An unprecedented enemy. When? Instinctively, Guan Yu grabbed the crossbar of the Qinglong Yenhua blade and a strangely shaped dark red long sword struck him head-on. Bang! The terrifying force fell, and Guan Yu sat down on his warhorse, howling mournfully. His forehooves softened and he fell to the ground. Guan Yu fell off his warhorse, bleeding from the corner of his mouth. Not waiting for him to stand up. The cold long sword has been placed around his neck. Second brother. Liu Bei exclaimed in surprise, about to draw his sword and rush forward to save Guan Yu. A pink long sword, without any warning, hung around his neck. Liu Bei looked up. Unexpectedly, it was a woman. Tall in stature. Concave and uneven. However, wearing a metal battle suit and a black iron mask, a pair of long legs wearing fishing net socks and high heels, it was cold and piercing. Hiss. Beside him, Sun Jian Sun Wentai, known as the fierce tiger of Jiangdong, widened his eyes and looked shocked. Where did these people come from? How could they be so terrifying? Guan Yu warms his wine and slays Hua Xiong. Shocked the 18 feudal lords. Make a name for the world. Become one of the top generals in the world. Now they haven't even taken a single move from the other party. Although Liu Bei was not as powerful as Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, he was not even able to draw his sword and was captured alive by a woman. Terrifying as ever. Suddenly, Sun Jian felt a murderous aura locking him in. He looked up. I saw a man with black and white blades, unrestrained, walking towards him. Every step feels like stepping on his heart. Make him tremble with fear. Like a wild beast walking towards him. I want to see how strong you are. Sun Jian clenched his long spear and killed him directly. As for escaping. Is Sun Jian the kind of person who runs away without fighting? When? The white blade blocked the long spear, and the black blade struck down, causing Sun Jian to fall from his horse and never stand up again. Xiantian Palace. The 8 Swords of King Yu. Covering the sun, startling salamander, and Xianjian. Heavenly and earthly destruction, demons and monsters. Trapping the 3 heavenly characters and being a first-class expert. Guy Nie's gaze narrowed slightly, staring at the 3 people appearing in the light curtain. These 3 people are not weaker than him in strength. Trapped sword slave, named after the sword. The evil and charming man holding black and white double-edged sword is Xianjian. He once encountered him when he was young, and he worked with his junior brother Wei Zhuang to resist him. As for the first appearance of the sun cover and the startled salamander as a woman, they are both very mysterious. He hasn't seen it before. He can recognize the other party. It's entirely because the opponent holds the 8 swords of the king of you. Good figure. Just as everyone was horrified by the terrifying power of the top-notch killer, the calm and indifferent voice of Ying Xuan stunned them. Good figure. This should mean, startled salamander, right? Xuanzu's focus is indeed unique. That's right. With Xuanzu's strength, the abilities of covering the sun, startling salamanders, and Xianjian are not worth mentioning at all. Thoughts flashed quickly through everyone's minds. The Prime Minister LV Bouet, who was in charge of the trap, had a bright eye and quickly approached, saying, "There are still some servants in the Xuanzu mansion who need to be summoned. Although the martial arts of the Tianzi cannot be compared to Xuanzu, they can also handle some trivial matters for Xuanzu." Wei Chen asked the startled salamander to come and serve Xuanzu. What does Xuanzu mean? Ying Xuan nodded slightly. Okay. Upon hearing this, LV Bouet was overjoyed and pondered finding an opportunity to bring his daughter LV Nyangrong over as well. After all, the startled salamander is just a trap killer. Although he is in charge of the trap. But the relationship is not reliable. If his daughter can win the favor of Ying Xianqing, that's stable. Other ministers, upon seeing this, became even more mentally active. Ying Zheng looked at it calmly. I didn't care. Now there is Ying Xuan present. Lu Bouet couldn't stir up any waves at all. As the civil and military officials of the Great Qin pondered how to stuff their own people into the Xiantian palace, the battle at Sisui Pass quickly came to an end. Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, Liu Bei, Cao Cao and other 18 feudal lords were caught off guard by the attacks, coupled with the absolute military suppression of the Great Qin. All the 18 feudal lords were captured, and not a single one escaped. They have a 400,000-strong army under their command. Except for the casualties and those who escaped, the remaining 200,000 troops all surrendered. Cao Cao, Liu Bei, Yuan Shao, Sun Jian, and others gathered together and looked at each other. They were just excited about slaying Huaxiong and breaking through Sisui Pass, imagining entering Luoyang, annihilating Dongzhua, and dividing the world. In the blink of an eye, he became a prisoner. Great joy and great sorrow. No better than this. Da. Accompanied by the sound of footsteps, Wang Jian, Wang Ben, Li Xian, Nei Shirting, Meng Tian and others strode into the camp. Who are you? Seeing the appearance of the main general, Yuan Shu raised his neck and loudly asked, What do you want to do? Do you want to be enemies with the whole world? He was a member of the Yuan family, with 4 generations and 3 nobles, and was a descendant of old officials, spread throughout the world. Moreover, all the feudal lords are here today. He didn't believe the other party dared to kill them all. The prisoners are still so tough, they have been pulled out and beheaded. Wang Jian disdainfully glanced at Yuan Shu and gently waved his hand. 2 fierce warriors from the Great Qin dynasty stepped forward and pulled Yuan Shu to escort him down. What are you doing? Let go of me. I am the legitimate son of the Yuan family. If you kill me, the Yuan family will not let you go. Don't. Please, don't kill me, I was wrong. Ah. Yuan Shu's mournful voice rang out, eventually returning to calmness. Yuan Shao, Cao Cao, Liu Bei and others watched coldly. For Yuan Shu seeking death. They didn't care. They are more curious about where these people in front of them come from and what their identities are. I, Liu Bei and Liu Xuanda, have met the general before. Today, I was defeated by the general and I am convinced. I have not yet consulted the general about his surname and name. Who does he belong to? Liu Bei bowed to Wang Jian and asked. I am Chao Mengda, the general's army. I only see Chao in his life. Cao Cao followed suit and said, I was defeated by the general today, and I am deeply convinced. Could you please inform Chao of his name and affiliation, so that he knows who he was defeated by?
So, even if you die, you will die without regret. Not only Cao Cao and Liu Bei. Yuan Shao, Sun Jian, and others all looked at Wang Jian, full of strong curiosity. General Wang Jian, under the command of King Qin of the Great Qin, I believe you have all heard of him. Wang Jian looked at the curious crowd and said, but this will not be the Wang Jian you are familiar with, but another world, Wang Jian from the Great Qin world. Boom! Cao Cao, Liu Bei, and others trembled as if they had been hit hard. My mind is like a bolt from the blue. Another world. King Jian of the Great Qin world. End of this chapter.